Good morning. Welcome to Tuesdays in the Garden with North Madison Congregational Church. I'm Roberta Hanlon, and I'd like to share my garden that is really one of the most things that gives me the greatest joy, one of the greatest joys in my life. Okay, so I was trying to think the other day, so what do I do, when I think about what I'm going to add or to take away from the garden, what do I think about? And I came up with 5 things. One is, I like to sit down and rest and enjoy my garden. So I'm sitting here on a bench, and as you kind of look out here to see what my view is, you will see that I've really designed this garden to be enjoyed from many different views, but one of them is what I want to see when I look out here. So when I look out here, I see a garden that has some azaleas that have already bloomed and some hydrangeas that I've recently added. I've got some peonies coming along and a few other items that I'd like to talk about when we get closer. I have a birdhouse, and in there we just had a family of bluebirds that finally fledged about a week ago, and I've had the greatest amount of joy in just watching them feed them. I provided a little bird bath to clear about nearby, and they've just had a great time with it. And then over in the distance is I call my stonewall garden, and I'll share a few things when I get closer there. So I like to enjoy my garden, but I also like to make sure that it's a place where it attracts birds and pollinators, and I love toads and frogs, and an occasional garter snake that comes to visit every so often. I also like to have a plan to multiply, divide, and share. And I also like to experiment. So I heard when I was listening to Linda Young's Tuesdays in the Garden from last week, she talked a lot about, I don't know how that got there, but it appeared and it seemed to like it, so I let it stay there. So a lot of that, and I like to share with other people, other NMCC gardeners and other friends, so I'll comment on those as we go along. So let's, and garden art. I love garden art. A couple of examples, just even looking here, is I like to have little pots, of flowers that are sitting right here, keeping me company. So in here, this was a garden that was covered with vinca, which is quite lovely for about 2 weeks of the year. And then if you try to put anything else in the garden, it chokes it out. So it took me 2 years. I got them all taken out, and now I've been replacing with hydrangeas and a few other things. And there are some astilbes from Melissa's mom's garden. She doesn't like red, so I was more than happy to adopt those. And this is another bush of hers that you will recognize that has come from Priscilla's garden. Just up until about a week ago, this was all blues and purples. We had these are foxgloves that have just finished blooming, and now the daylilies are coming out. These 2 larger bushes are spirea, and you can see they get quite large, but what I will do over the next couple of weeks is as the flowers die off, then I will flip them way back, because then they'll give me another whole bloom, which is kind of exciting. There's a little catmint here, and these here, I love these. These are columbine, and I let them go to seed because they just sprinkle every place they want to go, and they really are fun to pop up, any place you can find them. These were my beautiful knockout roses, covered with these beautiful pink blooms, but we had a deer hit on Sunday, so we're trying to recover. I have a few buds left, but we've sprayed them up. Here these are called evening primroses, and I love these because they were the originals were from my mother's garden. And speaking of mother's garden, Holly Francis stopped by a little while ago, and she wanted to do a swap. And she said, I'll bring you back some of the brown-eyed Susans. I said, bring them back? Yes, you gave them to me. They used to be in your mother's garden. But mine disappeared, but she brought them back. So these are going to be doing, again, reminding me of my mom and Holly now that she's back. These lilies are going crazy. Had a little bit of a deer hit on these, and that right behind there is a peony that just finished blooming. Just a quick look. This garden over here is the garden that got away from me, but from a distance it looks really organized. But it'll keep me busy all summer. In this garden here, these daisies are actually from the church garden. Heather Crawford is the keeper of that garden, and when there are too many daisies, I happened to be there at the right time. So this is my NMCC daisies that will be blooming pretty soon. These will be cone flowers. This is a everlasting bridal veil hydrangea, and I do want to stop and say thank you to Sue Kenny. I thought I knew how to fertilize hydrangeas, but she was our very first Tuesdays in the Garden, and I learned the proper way, and I finally, after 2 years of drought, most of my hydrangeas are exploding, and here we are. I'm so happy to share this with you. So Ladies Mantle, this has gone crazy. It has never been this big, but this year it apparently is going to really performing very well. That's a lace cap hydrangea, and if you look closely, it's got red stems. It's called Lady in red. And that one I have to whack back. That could go up to the top of the house, I think, if I did. Okay, this is really a pollinator garden. I've got a butterfly bush in here, right in front of you. It'll be purple. It's a theme here. Right in front of you is a little bit of Monarda. You can see that right in front of you, Melissa. That choked out this garden last year. I moved it, but you can see it's still here anyways. I'm trying some herbs in these buckets, and I have to see how those go. This is a Mandeville, and I actually wintered it over inside the house, and we're going to see how it goes this year, so we're not quite sure. You can see that these are phlox that are coming out. These will be a lot of purple and white phlox in here, so this is kind of fun. This is some iris that have gone by the Siberian iris. And there's just a whole bunch of astilbe. Okay, so here we have, this is the end of the driveway garden, and we can see we had a little deer hit the other night, but we just have to adjust. This is what we do. Don't get so close. You don't have to make a big deal, but just say we had a deer hit. We're trying to deal with it, okay? Here's an example of garden art, okay? And here I have a bunch of these pots of annuals that I put together to fill in spaces when we're in between blooms on a particular, as the season goes along. So here's a little bird bath. So note here I've got my number 2 of 7 bird baths. Coming back in here, there's a robins, you can look up in here, but we had a nest of 4 baby robins up there that just fledged. It's up in, you can look up into there. So they fledged just about a week ago, and it was quite a scene because one of the babies did not want to leave. He just stood there and screamed, and mom is saying, "Get off," and it was very funny. But anyways, he finally got out of there. So that's honeysuckle up over the top of that, and it will bloom all summer long. Right at the moment, it's kind of it's resting for the next bloom. And then there's this back garden. So let's just see here. Those are some sweet peas that I have growing up the vine. Another lady's mantle. This is feverfew, the white flowers, the little daisies, an old-fashioned plant, and they spread like crazy, and they all particularly come out this time of the year, and they bloom any place. If anybody wants any, just come with a shovel and a thing to put it in, and you can have it, because I've got so much of this. But it's so pretty at this time of the year. This is a geranium that just finished blooming. I'm going to let it go to seed so I can get more babies out of that. Here's the daffodils that are properly drying out before I do something else with that. And there, look at this. Finally, this is going to be a pink hydrangea, and look at Sue Kenny. I've got some little babies coming, some little buds coming out, and I'm so excited. It's been 3 or 4 years since that's bloomed. So, and then here's a little metal. It's a little praying mantis. Oh, look, the sun is coming here. Okay, so this is the astilbe and phlox garden. Okay, with a little bit of the primroses, and these are from the Clemens garden. This is long before they had their fire. They had a lot of extra astilbe, and in my garden you can never have too many astilbe. I just love them. They bloom for maybe 2 or 3 weeks this time of the year, and they are just simply give me a lot of joy. And then those will be purple phlox down there on the other side. This is a lace cap hydrangea. And number 1 bird bath right in there. I don't know if you can even see it, but it's kind of deep, and the birds come in there and they think it's kind of like a private spa or something, and I have to fill it at least 2 or 3 times a day because once the robins or the catbirds get in there's no water left. Okay. So this is one of my second place where I like to just sit and look at the garden. So this is kind of usually in the shade most of the day anyways, and I can just sit here and take a look at what's going on out here. So let me just look down there. Okay. So there's a birdhouse, and I'm laughing about the birdhouse because it was just supposed to be garden art, but I had a family of chickadees in it. Okay, so this is a spirea in behind it. Over here, what we have is this is actually a water garden, so I'm kind of working on that. And it seems to be coming along this year. It gets just enough sun. Here's the hosta that used to be in the front garden with the one that got the deer hit. I moved it in here and it's got a little sunburn, but it seems to be thriving in here as well. More of the, here's another spirea in here. And this is kind of repeat what I have already in other parts of the garden. One thing I did want to show you in here is, we don't need to go all the way in, but this is my backyard. Come in just a little bit. If you saw the first 2 seasons in the garden that I did, I just wanted you to take a look at it. You can maybe want to turn it sideways, but just see what the window boxes look like at this point. So they've come a long way, and I've used this, taken this watering can. It's a vintage watering can, and it had a hole in the bottom of it. So it wasn't very useful as a watering can, which I was using it. So I made it into a planter. So that was kind of fun. Okay, and there's more hydrangeas that are going to bloom, haven't bloomed for 2 years. So this one here, that one, and I might even get the front one, because these are blues, and then there's the pink one. Okay, and you may have noticed I've got little ceramic mushrooms everywhere. That's a little part of the garden art that I really enjoy. And this little garden here is, it's one of my nursery or my experimental gardens. If I have little plants that need to have some time out, little space where no one's crowding them out, I put them in here. So, and I sprinkle them in the back there. So this is a cart. It actually came from Tim Blunden when he had the Madison Earth Care Garden Center. And so it's, over the years, it's gotten a little rusty, but we keep refurbishing it, and we're partway through that process right now. And here's an example of a pot that I plant here just to bring the color and height over to this garden right here. And here's what the hosta is supposed to, the one that without a deer hit, that's what the hosta in the front yard used to look like. Okay, so this is my hosta garden. And then the final, I'll just wrap it up here with my this is the pond, okay? And it used to be a fish pond, but then we had herons come up here and steal the fish. So then we lost the frog. There's a resident frog. He's around here someplace. He's not here at the moment. Usually, his new places, he hangs out in the bird bath because the water's nice and clean there, and nobody bothers him except just me, and he thinks I'm okay. So anyway, so that's kind of just like a little hummingbird feeder over here, and I would say that's just about all I wanted to share. So it just, one thing is I would encourage, if you are gardening, ask for help from other people, be willing to share, or look for people that you can swap plants, because you never know. Oh, there is one that I did get that I forgot. The Ligularia that I got from Kate Summerlin, she said, keep it in the shade. So I have it in here, and I'm going to see what it does. And it may not do anything this year. I've got 2 of them. There's one down there, but I just want to make sure that that's my experimental part, to see because she says they turn into with orange spikes and they're quite glorious. So thank you for spending your time with me today, and hope you enjoyed the tour. Thanks.